This is VOA News via remote. I'm Marissa Melton. U.S. President Joe Biden imposed additional sanctions Thursday that he said will impose severe costs on the Russian economy following Russian President Vladimir Putin's sweeping invasion of Ukraine. The new sanctions target Russian banks, oligarchs, and high-tech sectors. Biden said that over time the sanctions would squeeze Russian assets and impair its economic growth. Biden stopped short of sanctioning Putin's personal assets, but said that remains a possibility if warfare escalates further. Putin launched the invasion early Thursday in the biggest European onslaught since the end of World War II, attacking Ukrainian forces in the disputed eastern region and launching missiles on several key cities, including the capital, Kiev. U.S. House of Representatives House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Thursday that Russia's aggression is not just about Ukraine, but about democracy. She said it is not surprising that Putin ordered his troops to invade.
It has been his purpose for a long time to undermine democracy. He contends right now that he is going in there to prevent Ukraine from joining NATO. But the fact is, Vladimir Putin does not want a thriving democracy on his border. That is a threat to him and his own country.
While U.S. lawmakers have come together to condemn Russian President Putin's invasion of Ukraine, their response to the Biden administration's latest sanctions remains divided among party lines. Pelosi praised Biden's Thursday remarks responding to the military offensive, but Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said Biden was too late in announcing that the United States would limit its exports to Russia. This is VOA News. NATO leaders are due to meet Friday to talk about the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The alliance has activated its defense plans for member states in the region. Lithuania, a NATO member, declared a state of emergency Thursday and ordered its army to deploy along its border with Belarus. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg on Thursday called Russia's attack a grave breach of international law. He said NATO will do all it takes to protect and defend all allies. Ukraine is not a NATO member, although a 2019 amendment to its constitution says it is committed to becoming a NATO member. Putin has demanded that the West disavow Ukraine membership in NATO, and Western nations have refused. Among the most worrying developments on an already shocking day, Russian soldiers are reported to have taken over the Chernobyl nuclear plant in Ukraine, where radioactivity is still leaking from history's worst nuclear disaster, which occurred more than 35 years ago. Ukrainian officials say Russian forces took control over the site after a fierce battle with Ukrainian National Guards protecting the decommissioned plant. The condition of the plant's facilities remains unknown. The Chernobyl exclusion zone lies between the Belarus-Ukraine border and the Ukrainian capital. The United Nations said Thursday at least 8 members of polio vaccination teams were killed during the course of their life-saving work in Afghanistan. Ramiz Alakbarov, the UN Secretary General's deputy special representative for the South Asian nation, strongly condemned the violence while disclosing details of the incidents in the Afghan provinces of Takhar and Kunduz. He said the UN is appalled by what he called the brutality of these killings across 4 separate locations. Alakbarov said these were the first attacks on polio workers since the nationwide vaccination campaigns resumed in November of last year. The envoy said the violence prompted Afghanistan's Taliban authorities to suspend house-to-house polio vaccination campaigns. In those 2 provinces, there were no immediate claims of responsibility for the violence. A Michigan judge on Thursday ordered the parents of an accused teenage school shooter to stand trial on involuntary manslaughter charges, saying evidence that showed that they purchased their son a gun despite signs that he was what the judge called a troubled young man. Rochester District Court Judge Julie Nicholson said prosecutors during a 2-day preliminary hearing had prevented sufficient cause for James and Jennifer Crumley to stand trial. Via remote, I'm Marissa Melton, VOA News.